What's up, y'all? I'm Charlie. On today's episode, I'm going to be showing y'all how to make my homemade chicken stew and buttermilk biscuit casserole. Now, some people are like, what in the world is this? All this is a thick and rich chicken stew, which is made from scratch. It also has peas and carrots in it. And we make all of that and a roux in a cast iron skillet. Once we make the stew, we top it with a buttermilk biscuit topping, which is also made from scratch. From there, we bake it until the buttermilk biscuit topping is soft and a nice golden brown at the top. And there you go. This recipe calls for about 6 to 8 servings. Not only is this perfect for the fall or winter months, it's a great comfort food, but it's absolutely delicious. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, here's all what you'll need to make your chicken stew with buttermilk biscuit topping. Let's get started with our ingredients. You'll need 2 pounds of chicken thighs, all-purpose flour, salted butter, baking powder, baking soda, buttermilk, frozen peas and carrots, and for your seasonings you'll need some salt, pepper, Tony Chachere's Creole seasoning. You can also use Zatarain's Creole seasoning, a Slappy Mama Cajun seasoning, Chef Paul Prudhomme's Poetry Magic, onion powder, garlic powder, and for your additional seasonings you will need 1 yellow onion, some celery, bell pepper, garlic, some dried thyme, and bay leaves. Now, to bake your chicken stew with the buttermilk biscuit topping, you will need a 10-inch round cast iron skillet. You can also use a 10-inch round deep dish pie pan or a 10 by 10 inch square metal baking pan or casserole dish. And there we have it.
Alright, let's get straight to it. We're going to go ahead and get started by chopping up a half of a yellow onion. Now you want to make sure you rinse off your celery. Make sure you rinse that off good. And we're also going to rinse off our green bell pepper. Okay. Now we're going to chop 2 stalks of celery. Make sure you remove the core out of the center of your bell pepper. And we're going to chop a half of a green bell pepper. Okay. Here I have 2 cloves of garlic cut in half. We're going to chop that up until it is minced. Now let's get started with our chicken thighs. We're going to add the chicken thighs into a strainer. And we're going to rinse the chicken thighs off with cold water. Now I like to do this step as a precaution to rinse off any blood or particles that might be on the chicken. Alright, we transferred our chicken thighs into a large bowl. Now we're going to add some seasoning. We're going to sprinkle 1/8 teaspoon of salt, 1/8 teaspoon of black pepper, 1 teaspoon of Tony Chachere's Creole seasoning, 1 teaspoon of Chef Paul Prudhomme's Poetry Magic, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, and 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. Right on in there. Now I'm going to go ahead and take my hands and I'm just going to coat those seasonings onto the chicken thighs. Right? So you rub that in there really good. Now that that's done and nice and seasoned, now we're going to go ahead and sear them. Now we're going to preheat our fire to medium-high heat. In a cast iron skillet, we're going to add 6 tablespoons of salted butter. Right on in there. And we're just going to spread that butter around our skillet. Make sure that gets nice and melted and ready to go. Now we're going to go ahead and add our chicken thighs right on in there. Add them carefully. There we go. Beautiful. Now you're going to fry these chicken thighs for 4 minutes on each side. Okay. Alright, y'all, it's been about 8 minutes total, and as you can see, that's a nice golden brown on both sides. Look at how beautiful that looks. Now at this time, we're going to go ahead and remove our chicken thighs from out the skillet, and we're going to place them onto a serving dish. And as y'all can see, that's my little dogs in the background. Say hello. Alright, now back to our skillet. Okay, we're going to add 6 tablespoons of all-purpose flour right on in there. I'm going to make a roux here. Now we're going to take our wooden spatula and we're just going to stir this continuously for 5 minutes or until the roux turns a brown color like how you see here. Look at that. It's beautiful. Now at this time we're going to go ahead and turn our fire off You want to continue to stir it until the smoke goes away. And this is our color right here. Now at this time, you're going to set that on the side and let it cool off. Now we're going to preheat our fire to medium-high heat. For our chicken stock, here we have a medium-sized pot. We're going to add 1 1/2 quarts of water right on in there. Okay. All right, now let's add some seasoning. We're going to add 1/8 teaspoon of salt, 1/8 teaspoon of black pepper right on in there, 1 teaspoon of Tony Chachere's Creole seasoning, 1/2 teaspoon of Chef Paul Prudhomme's Poetry Magic, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/2 teaspoon of dry thyme, and 4 bay leaves right on in there. I'm going to go ahead and take my spoon and I'm just going to give this a quick stir. Want a nice concentrated chicken stock that's going to give it a wonderful flavor. Yes. Now we're going to go ahead and add our chicken thighs right on in there. Careful, don't drop them. Just carefully place them in the water, just like that. All right. Now we're going to go ahead and take our spoon. Oh, I forgot about this, y'all. The pan juices. Don't forget about that. They got pan juices in that serving dish. You add that in there too. There ain't nothing but good flavor. Now we're going to go ahead and give this a quick stir. The audacity of me. How could I forget about the pan juices? Well, at least anyways, we're going to go ahead and cover this with a lid. And we're going to let this simmer for 1 hour. Alright, y'all. It's been about 1 hour now. And as you can see, it has turned into a nice, flavorful, and delicious tasting chicken stock. Yes. Now we're going to turn our fire off. And at this time, we're going to go ahead and remove the chicken thighs. And once done, we're going to take the chicken thighs and we're going to place that onto a serving dish. Now here I have a fat separator. I'm just going to add the chicken stock right into this fat separator here. You could use a mesh strainer with a large bowl underneath it if you like. Alright, here we have the chicken thigh. We're just going to remove the fat off of there. I don't want all that on there. And now I'm going to take my fork and I'm just going to remove the meat off of the bone. I'm basically just shredding the fat off of the chicken. Okay, and once done, you're going to take the shredded chicken. You're just going to place that into a serving bowl and just place that on the side. And we're going to add that into our chicken stew later. Alright, now at this time, we're going to preheat our fire to medium-high heat. Alright, here we have our roux in our cast iron skillet. We're going to bring this back up to a hot temperature. It's going to take about 2 to 3 minutes. Now at first, when you stir your roux, it's going to be pretty thick, but once it gets hot, it'll thin out, okay? Now let's go ahead and add some seasoning. We're going to add 1/2 cup of chopped yellow onion right on in there. And to that, we're going to add 1/4 cup of chopped celery, 1/4 cup of chopped green bell pepper, and 1 tablespoon of chopped garlic right on in there. Now I'm going to go ahead and take my spatula and I'm just going to give this a quick stir. Now we're going to stir this continuously for 6 minutes. Alright? Want that to cook down. Alright, now at this time we're going to add 3 cups of chicken stock right on in there. Chicken stock should still be pretty warm. Okay? Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and take my spoon and I'm just going to give this a quick stir. Now we want that roux and that stock to come together. So that's going to take about 3 to 6 minutes. Alright, y'all, it's been about 3 to 6 minutes. And now we're going to add our shredded chicken pieces right on in there. And as you can see, that stock and that roux has come together and it's turned into a wonderful thick gravy-like consistency. And now I'm going to go ahead and take my spoon and I'm just going to gently stir this. Now you want to stir this very carefully. Now don't vigorously stir it. Okay, you don't want to break down those pieces of chicken too much. Now into that we're going to add 1 1/4 cups of our mixed peas and carrots right on in there. And now I'm going to take my spoon and I'm just going to fold the peas and the carrots into the gravy. Like I said earlier, very gently. As you see here, very gentle. Now let's go ahead and add some seasoning. We're going to sprinkle 1/8 teaspoon of salt, 1/8 teaspoon of Tony Chachere's Creole seasoning, 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder, 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of dried thyme. Now I'm going to go ahead and take my spoon and I'm just going to give this a quick stir. Want to be very gentle with it. Okay. Now we're going to let this simmer for about 5 minutes, stirring occasionally. Alright y'all, it's been about 5 minutes now. And our stew is done. Now we're going to go ahead and turn our fire off. Now for some quick tips, your stew will thicken as it cools. Okay. And also you want to taste your stew to see if it's at your desired taste. If not, you could add more seasoning. Now let's go ahead and make this biscuit topping. In a food processor, that's another thing you're going to need for this recipe. We're going to add 2 cups of all-purpose flour right on in there. And to that, we're going to add 1 tablespoon of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and 1 stick of salted butter. Make sure your butter is cold and it's cubed. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and cover this. And we're going to poach this for about 1 to 2 minutes or until that butter is cut into the flour. Okay. Okay. And this is how it looks when we're done. Nice coarse crumbs. Now we transfer it into a large bowl. We're going to add 1 cup of buttermilk. Make sure your buttermilk is cold. Now we're going to take a spoon and we're just going to stir this until the mixture forms a dough. And at some point when the mixture clumps up, you could just take your hand and just bring the dough together just as you see here. Alright? It's very simple, very easy to do. And just form this into a little ball. Okay? Now at this time we're going to preheat our oven to 450 degrees. Now we're going to lightly flour the surface of our table. Now we're going to go ahead and add the dough on top of the table. I'm just going to add a little flour on top of there. And we're going to press the dough down into a 9-inch in diameter circle. Just make sure you form it into a circle as you're pressing it down. And this is how it looks when we're done. Look at that. Looks great. Now we're just going to go ahead and take the dough and we're just going to transport it on top of the stew. Just place it right on top of the stew. Press it down slightly, not too much. Now it's ready to be baked. Now we're going to place this into a preheated 400-degree oven on the middle rack. Okay? And we're going to bake this for 20 minutes. This is the before. And this is the after. Look at that topping. Nice golden brown. Now we're going to go ahead and remove this out of the oven after baking it on 450 degrees for 20 minutes. Now let this cool off for about 30 minutes before serving. It's all about patience. The stew will thicken as it cools. It might appear thin at first, but it'll thicken. For best results, serve this the very next day so that way the flavors can settle and increase overnight. And here is the final presentation. And there you have it. Southern chicken and biscuit casserole made from scratch by a New Orleans native. If you like my channel, hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell button if you want to be notified of my videos. I have an official website for all of my recipes, www.charliethecookandrews.com. You can also find me on Facebook and on Instagram under the name Charlie the Cook Andrews. Stay tuned as Charlie's Taste Test is coming up next. Can't wait.
Now it's time to go ahead and take a bite. I don't know where to start. Oh my goodness, look at that. Man, this is fantastic. It has a wonderful chicken flavor. You can taste the flavor of all the seasoning that we've added in there as well. And that buttermilk biscuit topping. And it what happens is that the topping absorbs the flavors of the gravy of the chicken stew. And it combines with that buttermilk biscuit flavor. I mean, y'all, it's really, really good. So, give it a try. I hope you all enjoyed the video. And until next time, have a good one. Peace. And I mean, the buttermilk biscuit topping is literally, it's like flaky like, and chicken stew is rich, delicious.